Okay, so welcome to Down the Track. Today is a very special episode. We have a stack cast today. I have with me special guest Mr. Atif Heather. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for having me, sir.
Thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure. And Mr. Sama Azam, how are you doing, brother?
Everything's good. Good to see you guys again. Thanks
Good
for
to,
inviting me.
good to see you. It's a pleasure. And Mr. Muhammad Hamza, Hamza Muhammad, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm good, Mustafa. Thank you.
And my brother Yusuf Ismail, how are you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
And my co-host, what's up?
Good, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. So today I think we'll be discussing something which is very difficult to discuss. Two greats of the game, two different time periods. So Sachin Tendulkar and Virat Kohli, both match winners for India. I mean, like great batsmen for India. So let's debate. Let's have a debate and see who takes whose side. It's going to be very difficult. There's no right or wrong in this, but let's just have your opinions and see how it goes. So I'll start off with Atif. Atif, would you like to go first of all, or do you want to see what other people say?
I'm split anyway because for me, growing up, I saw Sachin play, and Virat was someone who came on later with a much different approach, very different style. So I know the stats speak a lot in these cases, but for me, the way that they've changed cricket, the way that they've changed batting has been unbelievable. Because growing up watching Sachin, his straight drives, his batting all around, it's just been unbelievable. The way he's faced the Australians, the Vaughan Sachin rivalry, it has just been unbelievable. Because while growing up, obviously you have a different love for the sport. So when you're growing up, you idolize someone or you see that person and you want to try and emulate him. And then once you understand a little bit more of the game, then you have another player who comes in who's so charismatic, who's got such a temper about him, but he's so aggressive on field and he wins you games from absolutely nothing while chasing. He's one of the best. Stats-wise, obviously they're very close together. Virat's got a long way to go still. He's got a few more years left. And also comes down to bowlers that they face. So it's a very tough call. And like I said at the beginning, I'm split, and I don't know if I can make up my mind. So I'm still confused about both of them.
Yeah, and you had made a good point about the quality of bowlers because that's lot of people. That's what a lot of people say in that argument. But it's still difficult to compare. We don't know if Kohli faced those bowlers. We wouldn't know. Same thing with Gavaskar, right? Because he faced the great West Indian attack and Sachin didn't. So I mean, it's difficult.
And then also, just to add a few points to that, the technology, the batting, the number of the bats that have come into play, the analysis that is going on, you can go back, you can see your mistakes, you can rectify them. You have 5 people who can help you change a particular technique if you're down. The time coming back from being out of form is much quicker these days because you face those many more balls. You can just go back and see, okay, this is what I did wrong in my last 5 innings. You have physics coming into play saying, okay, your arm is going this way, your bat was supposed to go that way. So there are a lot of things that have changed over the 2 generations. So it's really hard to actually choose between them. Like I said, they both had crazy impact on the game.
Some valid points over there. I'll go to Osami next. Osama, what are your thoughts on this topic?
Atif makes a lot of valid points. To be honest, like the game has changed a lot since the late 80s and 90s and even the noughties. The quality of bowling has gone down and everything. For me, it just comes down to one thing. My childhood memories of Sachin was he used to fail on the crucial stage, and Kohli is successful at the crucial stage. I think Kohli's average would have been at least 10 or 12 runs short during Sachin's time because of the bowling and just playing with one ball with the reverse swing and all that was there. But at the end of the day, in this generation, when I see Kohli, I'm always scared that he's going to win. When I see Sachin back in the day, it was more about just enjoying his batting because 80% of the time, it's a team sport. Don't get me wrong. Virat has a much stronger team compared to Sachin. But I still think Virat just stays till the end, finishes everything off, wins the major tournaments, and he's up there with the greats, especially in ODI. Test cricket, it's a different story, but ODI, I think Viv Richards and Kohli are just above everyone else.
And I think Sachin did and in the 90s, yeah, he did struggle with his teammates and stuff. But in 2003-4, at that time he had a good batting order with Yuvraj as well in the middle order, and I think the likes of Ganguly, Dravid, everybody at peak form. So he did have support, but I think he did lack in finishing games, right? If you look at the 2003 World Cup, and if you look at a few other games, like in 2007, there was a series where he made 90s, but he couldn't go on to make 100. So he had that issue, I think, in finishing games.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah. Let's just be honest. How many weaknesses does Kohli have apart from the series he struggled in England? He's just destroyed everyone, man. He's won in Australia. He's competed strongly in South Africa, and he said They said that he wasn't going to do anything in England. Went up and scored 700 runs, and he had the humility to know he couldn't attack James Anderson. So he scored 3 fours in 5 tests or something against Anderson, and he scored 700 runs. So he was humble. He humbled himself. He said, "Let me not attack him. Let me see him out, offside off stump for 3 hours straight." He was just leaving the ball. His mental toughness, I've never seen. Forget cricket. Any other sport, he's probably one of the strongest in mental strength I've ever seen.
After Michael Jordan.
Bro. Now we are talking.
Those are some solid points. I'll go to next to a huge Sachin fan. Bhaiya, what are your thoughts on this situation and this debate?
Look, I'm the same as Atif. I grew up watching Sachin. Sachin was my hero. I modeled my cricket after him. I used to always play the straight drive when I used to play because I was crazy about Sachin, right? And I put my hand up before this call saying that, yeah, okay, I'm going to pick Sachin over Kohli. But after watching part of The Last Dance, you can't talk about okay, Michael Jordan was the greatest, but you can't say Sachin was the greatest or Kohli. In cricket, I think the time period makes a big difference. You cannot say that Gavaskar was not the greatest for India because, again, bowling was harder, batting was maybe arguably harder, and he did a crazy job in the West Indies, right? So I think I'm with Atif. I like both. My heart says Sachin, but my mind says Kohli because he's probably the epitome of the modern Indian sportsman. He's aggressive. He has mental toughness. He has a never die attitude. And the fact is, when he chases, especially in ODIs, India win. He's a game winner, and you have to be a game winner. I'm not saying Sachin wasn't a game winner, but as time went on, he went from being India's only hope to accumulating numbers. He should not have played that test match where he scored his 100th 100 against Bangladesh. He did it just because he wanted to get the 100th 100, right? That was his aim. His quality of play maybe deteriorated in the last 3-4 years, to be honest. I think his peak was 2011 in the World Cup, where he did his last peak, where he actually had an impact. He scored a lot of runs. The Pakistan match is a different debate. I'm not going to talk about that, but but he retired when 2015 or 14.
The 13.
14.
13. He shouldn't have played those last 2 years. That was purely out of, I think, wanting to get some numbers that he was close to getting. So it's hard. I'm going to take the easy way out and just say I think it's difficult to choose. But it depends on what metric you're judging them.
Sachin versus Pakistan in Johannesburg, or Virat Kohli versus Pakistan in the Asia Cup when he made 183?
That is Johannesburg without a doubt.
Bhaiya?
That was a special knock, man.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. But the only difference is that if you notice though in that game as well, that knock was unbelievable. It was one of my favorite knocks. But in that game, you needed Dravid and Yuvraj to finish it off. Without them, I don't think India would have won. Whereas Kohli stays till the end. I think that's one difference.
That's being a little too harsh.
Yeah, it is being harsh. But I'm just saying
I will take it back to 98 Sharjah.
He pulled his back. He couldn't walk. He called a runner. Then Shoaib Akhtar bowled 100 miles. That was harsh. I think that's a little.
I'll say Johannesburg was up there in terms of the chase, but Sharjah 98 has to be one of my all-time favorite Sachin moments.
Yeah, that has to be.
He got them into the final. That was one of the one times you can say he directly competed with Kohli in that sense, because he got India into the final and then he destroyed Australia in the final. The momentum was insane. But I think the semi-final knock was much better because he was batting with Lakshman for a long time. But the momentum he had in those two matches was absolutely insane.
Yeah,
and the way he destroyed Australia, Warren was didn't know what to do. Any angle, round the wicket, over the wicket, he's hitting him over extra cover. He's hit straight drives like this. It's like that was the peak of my Sachin, like in terms of winning a match, doing it with style, and having the numbers to back it up.
That was incredible knock. And Hamzu, what are your thoughts on this?
I think again, pretty similar to what everybody has said until now. I think I really can't split both of them. There's good and bad. Again, I haven't seen Sachin during the 90s. I think when he was that young explosive batsman. So I haven't seen that. I've seen highlights, obviously, but. But again, just to look as a bowler, I mean, if I was bowling, I think Sachin, you'd always have a little bit of a chance to get him out. I mean, you'd always have a chance. But I feel just when Virat is like focused and in, it's more tough to get Virat out. He doesn't give chances. If he's in, he usually makes it count. So that's one aspect. And then, but again, Sachin, I think, like you mentioned earlier, like he didn't have a strong team, so he had even more high expectations and pressure, I think. And then he delivered. Usually, he delivered in those pressure situations. So again, it's really tough. Both are contrasting personalities. But yeah, I'd slightly lean to Virat, I think, lately, because I like him more. Again, that's like a personal preference, but really, really hard to split.
It's fair enough. And Don, what do you think?
Yeah, I think everyone put out very, very solid points. It's very hard to compare both of them. Very different scenarios for both of them. But one of my first seasons of cricket that I watched was 97-98, when I saw Sachin be so explosive in that Sharjah tournament, and that was like one of my first memories of watching cricket and watching Sachin, right? So that's always like in my memory one of the most best moments that I've watched cricket. But over the years of understanding cricket and seeing Virat for what he is, and for the way he finishes those games, and for the way he's just as amazing as we've seen him the 2016 IPL stint, or where he scored 970 runs, and even no one was even close in that season, or pretty much everywhere else, the way he's performed. And he just takes a slight advantage, again, just similar to what Hamzu said. It's very difficult, but on a personal preference, I just feel like if I had to bet my life on someone batting to get me out of trouble, I'd pick Virat just a shade above Sachin.
And entertainment wise, you would go with Sachin, like if you wanted to just enjoy like batting, like if you go for watch highlights, like if you want to go
both were very entertaining. Like if you think about like some of the innings that Virat has had also, it's quite amazing. Just if I have to go look at the highlights, one of the first memories, like I said, was the 98 Sharjah Cup, right? That the highlights, even today when I watch it, gives me goosebumps. So it's hard to pick on a highlights basis, but maybe that's again a personal preference. It's so hard to pick. I'd probably watch both of them, but if I had to bet my life on one, I'd give Virat just a shade above Sachin. Very, very minimal, almost unfair. But if you have to pick.
I mean, yeah, it is.
But then
It is
again,
extremely
I
tough.
think just to cut in there, we're discussing Virat as a finisher. We're discussing Virat as one of the batsmen who could win you the game. But when Sachin was playing, I don't think in that era an opening batsman or the batsman that Sachin was, he always needed to or had to finish a game. You would want him to give you a start, score quick runs, and then you would want your finishers, you would want your middle order batsman. There was a role for each and every batsman. I think that role has also changed over time, because I feel that when Virat came in and he saw the knocks being played, yes, there was Dhoni, there was Yuvraj Singh, all of them established, who would finish the game, but he had that mentality that he just wanted to win the game for you single-handedly. Right. I think Sachin, during his time, his job was to face those opening bowlers, manage that first 15 overs, give you maximum runs, and then he was so good that he would go on to get himself more runs and get himself into a position where he could win you the game. It seemed like he wasn't finishing the game, but for me, someone doing that at that stage, I felt let down that, okay, you know what, why didn't someone else come in? Why didn't that Dhoni come in and just whack 20, 30, 40 runs and win the match. Because that was the difference for me as well. Obviously, like Don said, if you want to bet your life on someone winning you the game, I'd go for Kohli as well, because you've seen it time and again that yes, he's gone and won you games from absolutely nowhere. IPL, ODI, be it whatever format, he will just do unbelievable things, and he's played alongside such players also, where he's learned so much from ABD finishing matches or going from a place where you can't even win to making the team win. So I think there's two different sorts of impact that they had. Because for me, as a batsman, just out and out, what Sachin did for the game when he came in and just completely changed cricket. Kohli's got a huge impact as well, but I don't think he has the same impact that Sachin did on cricket in India at that time. I think now, obviously, it's a much more digital age. There's a huge fan following for Virat. The number of people following him is much more. But at that time when Sachin was batting, I don't think anyone disliked Sachin. It could be for whatever reason. They would say Kohli's too aggressive, or he's got that little bit of attitude. But there are people who dislike Kohli for whatever reason. I don't think anyone ever disliked Sachin. Even though he lost you games, you'd feel bad for him as well. Yeah. And obviously you'd be like, he could have won us the game. But I think Sachin had that thing about him that he just brought that thing about cricket that you just wanted to watch. Everybody watched him play. So that's what I feel.
I think those are very valid points, especially the thing about the opening, the batting. I think that's because there's not many openers there who bat till the end, even especially during that period in the 90s. Australia always had like a Bevan, South Africa had a Klusner. India didn't have anybody like that. So I think those are very valid points in that sense.
So what do you think?
Yeah, Sami, baby.
The game has changed. I've said that before. It's very difficult to judge those things, but it still doesn't help Sachin's cause that he used to fall 15 runs short of victory, 18 runs short of victory. I know it's the number 5 player has role to finish the game, but if he's 15 runs short of victory, just stay there, just finish it. You have that point with you then.
Yeah.
How many times this is the time, Sachin, just stay for 10 more runs, 20 runs, or just finish it till the end.
Like the Chennai Test match, right?
I mean, there's some major ones like the Chennai Test match and those ones, but it was for a long period of time, at least from what I reckon.
Yeah, I think so. And I think sorry, does anyone want to say anything?
No, mostly you want to hear your views.
Yeah. First tell us what you.
No, my view is simple. For me, Kohli was a match winner. He's a match winner, but Sachin is the best to watch. In terms of just if you want to watch crazy shots, enjoy your day. There's nobody like that. What he did to Shoaib Akhtar, Wasim Akram, and stuff in that World Cup match, I have not seen anything like that. But if I want,
let me tell you one point why I think I think Kohli is better. But let's say if we just go to a ground, all 5 of us, we're saying Sachin and Kohli bad. We don't know they're Sachin, Kohli playing international cricket, and both of them start scoring runs. I would take Sachin 1 million% over Kohli.
Yeah,
because he's got all the shots. He can play them it's better on the eye and everything. But Kohli, just because of his that will to win, that's the only thing I would like. That's the guy I want.
Yeah, and like Osama said, crossing the line, Kohli's done that on numerous occasions, and I'm like, wow, I've never seen it as an Indian fan. I haven't seen anybody do that like that. Like how he chased that 330, 40 overs against Sri Lanka. I have never seen that from an Indian batsman. Even in the Asia Cup when he made that 183 against Pakistan. Till the end he batted. I haven't seen that. So for me, if I want somebody to win the match, it has to be Kohli. For me, but watching Sachin, you can't beat that, man. The uppercut to Shoaib Akhtar.
98 season, it was incredible, never before seen. But Kohli did that for 4 straight years, from 2012 to 16. And yes, the cricket has changed, but who else did it? AB de Villiers did it a bit, but not like Kohli. In this generation, cricket has changed, but everyone should do it. It's only Kohli who's doing it again and again and again.
And captaincy also, it hasn't affected his batting. I think it did affect Sachin's batting a lot, but it didn't affect Kohli's game, I think, in that sense.
It's all about the mind. It's the mental strength. Kohli, he doesn't care about these things.
Mentally he's like that, but skills-wise and talent-wise, there's nothing on Sachin. And what Atif's points are also very valid when it comes to opening the batting. And he did the job most of the time, in terms of what his role was required. But then, yes, you can argue when you're so that close, why don't you just finish it off? But I think those points are very valid. He did his role beyond expectation.
To me, do you all remember any innings? I'm trying to think of any innings where Sachin did some amazing batting if it wasn't Australia, Pakistan, or in India. I know that he did crazy knocks against Australia. He had crazy knocks against Pakistan. He always did well in India, but I very rarely remember an unbelievable knock against England or an unbelievable knock against uh, I don't know if there was one against South Africa. Virat, name a country, you'll get a score. So that's something you could pick against. Again, foreign or if it's in India, I don't think that made much of a difference.
I mean, Sachin, there was a couple of innings like in South Africa. There was one where Dale Steyn was bowling at his peak, and like everyone was falling, and then he put on a 100-200 partnership with Dhoni, I think, and he was at a later stage of his career, 2010, I think. So that was like one unbelievable innings. But yeah, like I mean, you're right. Kohli has had like, but yeah.
It might be harder for some of you to remember, but so I don't know if you guys watched the '96 World Cup when he played against the West Indies. He was facing Ambrose, Bishop, Walsh, and I think Roger Harper, and he scored. I think he scored a 50. He didn't score 100, and India won that match. But the bowling at that time, even Ambrose was still at his peak. Walsh was at his peak and Bishop was at his peak. You could compare those bowlers to maybe of the 80s and 70s of the West Indies.
Yeah.
For me, it's a memorable innings because he was still young. And even at that time, one thing about Sachin and Kohli, which is interesting, is that for a lot of his career, Sachin didn't have a good average. His average was in the 30s, mid 30s. His average creeped over 40 near the end. So like over the time, he actually improved his at least one day average. I don't know about test averages. So again, it depends on how you judge, right? There's if you want to judge on match winning, Kohli wins, no doubt. If you want to judge on shot making and technicality, Sachin wins, no doubt. If you judge based on the strength of the bowling, I think Sachin wins. So I think you criticize them on different metrics. I think it just depends what your perspective.
I agree with Atif about the changing of generations a lot. Actually, I was just thinking, let's put Kohli in Sachin's generation, and I'm sure his numbers are going to go down dramatically. I'm sure because of the ball, the bowlers, and everything. And if you put Sachin in this generation, I'm sure his average is going to increase by 20 runs or something. I'll agree with that, but unfortunately we don't see them at the same time.
Yeah.
So we can only judge by like what Kohli is doing right now and what Sachin did during that time. And Kohli, especially in one-day cricket, is so far ahead of everyone else. It's crazy. Like, I mean, there's amazing batsmen around, but it's unanimous. It's Kohli. Even that time, like Sachin was like unanimous to a large extent, but when Ponting started scoring centuries for fun and scoring in big finals and everything, you started comparing. Okay, ODI. But who do you seriously compare with Kohli in ODI in this era? No one. I'm talking about this era where we can judge like easily because everyone's playing right now together. It's like Kohli is just head and shoulders.
But in test matches, Steve Smith is giving a big run for his money, right?
I think Steve Smith is better than Kohli in test matches.
Yeah,
not run for his money.
Yeah, I mean, that is also true. But
over three formats, I think it's Kohli easily. Like anyone would pick Kohli over in all three formats. If you have to just choose like a cricketer.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that. Hamzu, do you think? I mean, if Sachin played as many T20s as Kohli has, do you think he would be able to sustain this form as well? Like, I mean, he had the talent, but what are your thoughts on the formats Kohli plays plus the IPL and everything, and still to perform on the international stage?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of T20, I think both aren't. It's not their strong points, I think, for me. But obviously, Kohli is much better for me in terms of T20. I think his all-round game. I think he can score a little more quickly. I feel personally because I haven't seen Sachin again in the start. So in the start, yeah. So I've seen him in the end. So I'd say in T20s, Virat's better in that terms. But again, like the whole conversation has been going, it's really tough. I think both have their advantages and disadvantages. So yeah, it comes down to personal preference.
Yeah, and how much role do you think fitness plays? Because Sachin wasn't the fittest, but he was crazy. But Virat Kohli is the icon for fitness, right? So what do you guys think on this? Like, how much has that helped, like Kohli?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they finish their careers. I mean, in the end, honestly, the last few years, I think Sachin was just carrying on. I mean, based on his talent and stuff, he wasn't that fit. I mean, he did a job, but he wasn't that effective, according to me. I think Kohli can surpass that if he stays fit and then can play on for longer. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Don, sorry, you wanted to say something on this?
Yeah, just the amount of cricket that is being played. I think his Kohli's tenure as a cricketer might not be as long as Sachin. So you don't know if he's going to make the 100 centuries. It's probably never going to happen again because of the amount of cricket that is being played now. I just want to have I want to get your guys' opinion. What do you think? Like if Kohli suffers like a pretty big injury where he's out for like a year or so, God forbid, whatever. But if he suffers that kind of an injury, like a tennis elbow that Sachin would came out of and performed towards the end of his career, some would say even better, right? Do you think Kohli will be able to come out of such a big injury and continue to perform at the level? That'll come up to mental strength, and I think I just want to know what do you guys think about that aspect of things? We will never know the correct answer for it, but what are your opinions or thoughts?
Kohli, it's like nothing for him. He'll come back better than ever.
Yeah, I think so as well.
He takes those challenges, like he's like, okay, this is a challenge. Okay, I'm gonna take it head on. Okay, and just he goes for it. I mean, Sachin.
I don't think he would get injured like that.
Yeah, to be honest.
That's also that's probably true too. Yeah,
look at someone like. Sorry, I was going to say I agree with the boys because sports medicine has also really evolved, especially as they've applied it in cricket. Like the amount of sports science that goes into cricket today versus 15 years ago is night and day. Look at someone like LeBron James, right? You can argue about his like actual game, his impact, everything, but when it comes to fitness, he spends $1 million a year on his own fitness, and that guy's like a cyborg, right? So like Virat Kohli is the Indian cyborg, basically, right? He's fit. He stopped eating butter chicken. Remember that interview, Mustafa? We watched. He's like, I miss my butter chicken. Like he's like so particular that he's not going to eat a certain kind of food. Sachin, these guys used to smash whatever, man. Like when you remember who was it? I think it's naam bhul gaya. The Bangalore. What's his name? Man, like Virat Kohli went to his house. No, Virat Kohli went to his house.
Mohammad Siraj.
Yeah, Mohammad Siraj. They went to his house, biryani, khara, everything. Virat Kohli is like, no, it's okay. Like, like someone who's that disciplined. Like Atif said, is very difficult for them to get injuries, and even if he does get injured, the probability of him coming back stronger than ever is very high. Yeah. So I think Virat Kohli actually can play at least 40 at a high level, just because of the advance.
And one thing I'd add to that is what Don was saying. I think Kohli will beat the record because he's so consistent, and plus I agree with the fact that there's too much cricket being played. But a guy with that mentality, and I was watching an interview of his the other day with Sunil Chhetri, and I found it amazing because it was so informal. But the certain points that he put across were just of determination that he only wants to focus on the sport. And if he does that for the next 6 years, I definitely think that he's going to go past that record because he's scoring 100 every few games, and he's going to score the most number of runs. And that determination, like Osama was saying, he's so focused. He will take a challenge and he will smash it. Like no matter what, he's doing new types of training every few days. He's doing weightlifting. So I just think that he will smash those things out of the park. And just to go back, because it was bothering me about Sachin and T20. I don't think Sachin would be a good T20 player at all, in my opinion. I don't think that he could. I don't think it was built in those batsmen because growing up in a generation where I played cricket, I don't think we had that mentality for us to go and hit every ball. A run a ball was unbelievable when you were playing that cricket at that time. For you, 100 strike rate was, oh my God, wow, this guy is a good batsman.
Only Afridi had like 100 plus strike rate.
That was coming.
So,
no, I remember I was watching.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the strike rate was next level at that time.
I still remember I was watching some random video highlights. I think it was Sachin playing an ODI in 2002 in that NatWest series that we won in the end. I think he scored 100 in one of those matches, and his strike rate was 93. And David Gower, I think, was like, what an amazing strike rate. That's like one of the highest in history, and it's like less than a run a ball, right? And today, if you say you have a strike rate of 93, it's like get lost. We don't want to sign you in the IPL, right? So.
Yeah. I mean, one more question I have for all of you to round this up. I think each of you can have your opinion on this. So one bowler who troubled Sachin and Kohli like separately, and one bowler who they smashed. Like it could be so two bowlers each. So Hamza, I'll go with you first.
Oh my God, you're putting me on the spot. I need some time to think right
I
there.
saw you. You were getting distracted, so I put you on the spot.
I'm trying to think honestly. Sachin, I think the first which came to my mind, I mean, I saw him playing. He used to play Brett Lee well. I mean, from the games I've seen.
Yeah.
I mean, he used to dominate, try and dominate Brett Lee. I think Brett Lee also got him out a few times, but he used to play Brett Lee well. Shoaib Akhtar, obviously, but Shane Warne. I think Sachin played Shane Warne really well.
Yeah.
So in terms of Sachin, those three, and then Kohli, I think Malinga. I remember in that the game versus Sri Lanka, I haven't seen anybody hit Malinga like that. Honestly, I think that was the first time I've seen anybody hit Malinga like that. So I'd go with Malinga for Kohli.
And two bowlers which troubled them, like one bowler each.
I mean, I'm trying to think. I'll come back after.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. Osami, I'll go with you.
Kohli, obviously, Jimmy Anderson troubled him quite a lot, and who else? He destroyed Mulling. I was actually very impressed when he played Mitchell Johnson. Mitchell Johnson was quite in form, and he just destroyed him. Like scored like 3 centuries, or back to back in first and second innings in Adelaide against Mitchell
and 14-15.
That was a special knock, and he's clever. He plays Steyn well. He doesn't really get out to Steyn, but he doesn't score a lot. And I think he's a good player of spin. So, and Sachin, I think everyone knows how he destroyed Shane Warne.
Yeah.
And he's okay. Now this is controversial. I think Shoaib Akhtar used to bowl well against Sachin.
Yeah. I mean, especially early on.
I agree.
That is that's a good point. Especially early on, there was a lot of time. Yeah.
And McGrath he played McGrath well, but McGrath got him out in a lot of crucial games.
A lot of games, yeah.
In like 2 World Cup knockout games, or 1 knockout game and 1 Super 6, something like that. And there was another bowler which Sachin was struggled against. I think his name was Afridi. Sachin is a genius, man. He struggles sometimes, but he always comes back. You don't really look at Sachin and say, he could never play that guy. He always used to come back. If he struggled, he got back at them. I would say Sachin was 50-50.
Yeah, Atifi?
I think for Sachin, I would say, even though it was always a tough competition, I would definitely say McGrath troubled him a lot. McGrath was someone who I felt it was a good competition. I don't think he's got him out so many times. I'm sure there's someone else who's got him out the most number of times. But for me, McGrath was someone who I felt gave him a tough time because, again, opening bowler versus opening batsman competition was just something worth watching. So for Sachin, I'd pick McGrath. And for Kohli, I've seen this for some reason. Tim Southee, for me, has troubled him. I've watched him because he's that line and length bowler, and he just keeps it outside off stump. And I think I saw him get dismissed a couple of times with him, and it's the same push outside the off stump, nick it to slips. So I genuinely feel he's gotten him out a couple of times. So he's the type of bowler, and like Osama said, Jimmy Anderson's troubled everybody, whoever he's bowled against.
Yeah.
But personally, I think Tim Southee is someone who Kohli's been.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think in the recent series as well, he troubled him quite a bit in the.
That was fresh off my mind. So.
Yeah.
Steve, before you get to someone else, who was that leg spinner from Australia or someone? I forgot his
Zampa?
name. He took Sachin's wicket quite a few times, right?
Not Zampa.
Kohli.
That's Stuart McGill.
Stuart
McGill.
No, but I think Osami is talking about Zampa for Kohli.
Yeah.
Actually, Kohli, and there's another guy, Adil Rashid. He also got Kohli out a few times. He had this issue with leg spin sometimes. He lost his wicket quite a bit to leg spinners in one days and stuff.
Yeah, I think he's figured that out now, though.
Yeah, he's figured. Yeah. What are you guys' thoughts on before I get to you, Don? Because I read I used to watch and so people used to say Sachin struggles with over the wicket left arm spin. Was that just was it a weakness, or is just that he didn't offer shots and that was his tactic to face the rough?
I don't think it was a long problem, and I think he did struggle against Ashley Giles a bit at some point during that England series. But just to like further that point, I think Sachin, if he felt a weakness was coming into his game, he would fix it. Like the most famous incident is like that Australia series, I think 2002-3, where he scored a double hundred by not playing the cover drive, right?
Yeah.
He's like, nope, I'm not going to play this shot. Literally for 200 runs, he did not score the shot that arguably one of his prettiest shots, right? Where he's like, no, I'm not going to play it. So I think Sachin had issues throughout. Like I was just checking the stats, and Glenn McGrath, actually the person who just dismissed him the most is Brett Lee. But our memories are of him hitting Brett Lee down the ground, right, in Australia. So I think even McGrath's number 2, Sean Pollock is 3, I think, and Chaminda Vas is 4th. These are the people who've gotten him out the most, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a testament to him adapting and not having a permanent weakness, is that while these players got him out, he also adapted to them. So I think that's an important point on Sachin. And
so while you're on it, like which bowler you think he struggled, and Kohli as well, and who they dominated?
Sachin is hard, but if you want to put a name on it, Glenn McGrath, because I still remember like watching the 2003 final, being so pumped, and then the side all finest of edges, and it was just the typical Glenn McGrath ball, right? And I think so. I'll take Glenn McGrath for Sachin. Someone he loved to smash is Shane Warne. Shane Warne, I think, never had an answer for Sachin. The greatest, arguably, spinner, definitely the greatest leg spinner to ever play, and Sachin had him every single time, right? In any format, he had his number. Kohli, James Anderson, and someone who he likes. Honestly, I've watched Sachin more than Kohli, but maybe Malinga, I would say, because Malinga was also quite revered as a death bowler, Yorkers and stuff. But the way he would, as much as Malinga, slung his arm, that Kohli used his wrists against that and hit crazy shots. Like around the wicket, I think he used to flick it on the leg side for 4, right? Those were crazy shots.
Yeah, and Don, lastly, to conclude with you.
I think I'll go with Yusuf's points. I think both for them, like the guy he was able to hit around the park was Shane Warne. I mean, no one can forget those innings that he's scored against him. And I think McGrath and is one of those line and length kind of guys, similar to how Atif said about Southee, the line and length kind of bowlers, the very consistent line and length kind of bowlers. Some of these great batsmen will have issues, but I think McGrath and as a person who challenged him, and Warne as a person who Sachin hit, and Jimmy Anderson, Southee, and Malinga who he's hit. Yeah, I agree with all those points. I don't think I have any other specific player that comes to mind.
Yeah, I think for Kohli, the one thing I wanted to watch more because I really enjoyed it was Mohammad Amir versus Kohli. Like, I mean, in the Champions Trophy, but also in Asia Cup, there was one game where Amir got Rohit and the top order out, but Kohli played him really well in very tough conditions. So, but then in the Champions Trophy, Amir got him back. I mean, that was an interesting competition. Yeah. I mean, twice. One was dropped, but
he dropped.
No, it was dropped.
That's a very good point because I remember watching that Asia Cup I think it was a T20 match where there were something 15 for 3, and he played one of the most beautiful cover drives that I've ever seen. But playing the same shot, he got out in slips in the championship.
I mean, that was one thing we would want to see more, but I didn't. But I think, we concluded. I mean, we've talked about some really important things in this debate, and it's very difficult to choose one. I mean, all valid points at both great batsmen. I just have one question for Osama. He has to answer it very seriously. It's about Test cricket. So I just want to ask you, because we've had a lot of conversations, and now there's we have other people here with us. So I just want to see your reaction to this. I'll give you 2 innings. You have to tell me which one is better. Okay? It's not what you're thinking, but okay. Ben Stokes versus Australia in the Test match just now in Headingley, or Afridi versus India in Chennai, and give me a reason why.
Ben Stokes versus Australia.
I thought the Afridi one was one of the best Test innings you said you've seen. The Chennai.
It was an incredible innings, but Sachin should have won it for them.
Yes, no, but
they won that game because Sachin flopped in the end, not because of Afridi.
Not because of Afridi. Okay. That's just what it
Stokes won it for them. So I can get 2 points in one answer.
Yeah. You deserve the hamper for this. But I think, does anyone have any last thoughts, or I think we're good to go? Atifi, any last thoughts?
No, I think I'd just say that even though we had this huge discussion about Kohli and Sachin, my favorite batsman is Dravid.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree. I
Yeah.
have
I
told
agree.
this to Musti several times before, and he's the person I started watching cricket for. So Dravid for me is up there as the best.
yeah,
That's an interesting point because growing up, like it was always who's better, Sachin or Rahul, right? Because
Yeah.
Ganguly never figured into that. Lakshman didn't have the longevity because Rahul Dravid was the closest to Sachin in terms of numbers, in terms of how long he played and everything like that. I was always team Sachin, but a lot of people were team Dravid, especially Ahmad. Like we used to go back and forth like crazy over Dravid. Like he molded his batting after Dravid, I banded it after Tendulkar. So it was a very interesting debate.
and he had a different type of mental strength, I think, right, Dravid? Like it was completely different to Virat Kohli, but he was mentally really strong as well.
And he was a complete team guy. Wicket keeping karo, wicket keeping kartu. Like he was like whatever you needed for the team, I would do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's being unfair to say that Sachin wouldn't do that. He probably would, but not to the extent of what Rahul Dravid has done for Indian cricket. It's just overshadowed by the great performances of Sachin, maybe. But Rahul Dravid for me is probably the best batsman to.
And he proved that when he declared when Sachin was on one.
Everyone has an issue with that.
I didn't find it an issue, but Sachin was really he really got emotional about that. I was a bit surprised because I didn't find it. I thought like they had enough runs and everything, but I didn't know it meant that much to him. Like, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's
bro.
the thing. Like, I think
200 would mean something to everyone, especially against Pakistan for him. And it's just 5 runs away, man.
5 runs
That was a bit brutal from Dravid.
True.
yeah. I mean, yeah, like that's true. Like that's valid. Hamzu, sorry, you were saying something?
No, I was just saying that it was just 6 runs away. So,
Oh, okay.
so just.
Yeah, no, I think that pretty much sums up the debate for today. Thank you all for joining me, and hopefully we'll have some more interesting debates next week and the weeks to come, and hopefully some cricket starts soon. Take care, guys, and see you.
Take care, man.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, Islam.